Hi students, hello, good morning. So this is Kishore working as physics lecturer in Vignan College. So let us see the concepts of thermal properties of matter. So first let us see what is the difference between heat and temperature. So what is heat? So heat is nothing but is a form of energy. So heat is nothing but is one of the forms of energy, and heat energy is transferred from one body to another body, or from colder body to hotter body, or from a body of high temperature to a body of low temperature. So heat energy always flows from a body of high temperature to a body of low temperature. And heat is measured in calorie or joules. So these are the units of heat energy. And heat is measured with an instrument, calorimeter. And heat is the cause. So this is about heat. So heat is nothing but like other forms of energy. Heat is also one of the forms of energy, and we know energy cannot be created, cannot be destroyed. But what we can do is we can convert one form of energy into another form of energy, which is called the law of conservation of energy. So heat is also one of the forms of energy, and the units for heat energy is calorie or joule, whereas heat is measured with calorimeter, and heat is the cause. And heat energy always flows from a body of high temperature to a body of low temperature. And let us see what is temperature. So it is a measure of degree of hotness or coldness. So temperature is nothing but it is a measure of degree of hotness or coldness of the body. So that is about the temperature. Temperature is measure of degree of hotness or coldness of the body, whereas the temperature is measured in degree centigrade or Kelvin, or maybe in degree Fahrenheit or Ramer. So there are different units of temperature, and temperature is measured with an instrument called as thermometer, whereas here temperature is the effect. So these are the basic differences between heat and temperature. Let us recap once again. Heat is one of the forms of energy, whereas temperature is a measure of degree of hotness or coldness of the body, and the units for heat energy are calorie or joules, whereas the units for temperature are degree centigrade and Kelvin. So heat is measured with an instrument called as calorimeter, whereas temperature is measured with thermometer, and heat is the cause and temperature is the effect. So these are the basic terms that we learned in this chapter. And there are different scales of temperature. Just we have seen the units of temperature are degree centigrade or Kelvin. So now let us see what are the different scales of temperature. Now let us see the different scales of temperature. So there are different scales of temperature. So just now we have seen what is temperature and what are the units and of temperature. So temperature is nothing but is a measure of degree of hotness or coldness of the body. And there are different scales of temperature. So the scales of temperature is nothing but the first one is centigrade scale of temperature, and second one is Fahrenheit scale of temperature, let us see the different scales of temperature. The first one is centigrade scale of temperature, second one is Fahrenheit scale of temperature, third one is Raman scale of temperature, and the last one is absolute scale of temperature. And in any scale of temperature, we have two fixed points. So one is called as the lower fixed point, other one is called as the upper fixed point. So let us consider the lower fixed point as LFP, lower fixed point. Whereas upper fixed point is nothing but, let us consider it as UFP, upper fixed point. So in any scale of temperature, there are two fixed points. One is the lower fixed point, other one is upper fixed point. And here the melting point of ice is taken as the lower fixed point, whereas the boiling point of water is considered as upper fixed point. The melting point of ice is taken as the lower fixed point, whereas the boiling point of water is taken as the upper fixed point. So in the case of centigrade scale of temperature, the lower fixed point is taken as 0 degrees centigrade, whereas the upper fixed point is taken as 100 degrees centigrade, whereas the interval is nothing but difference between the two values, which is nothing but 100. So that means here the centigrade scale is divided into 100 equal parts. So in the case of centigrade scale of temperature, the lower fixed point is 0 degrees centigrade, upper fixed point is 100 degrees centigrade, and the interval is 100. And coming to the Fahrenheit scale of temperature, here the lower fixed point is 32 degree F, whereas the upper fixed point is 200 degree F, and it is divided into 180 equal parts. And coming to the Raman scale, the lower fixed point is 0 degree R, whereas the upper fixed point is 80 degree R, and it is made into, the scale is divided into 80 equal parts. Whereas in the case of absolute scale of temperature, the lower fixed point is 273.15, which can be taken as 273 Kelvin, whereas the upper fixed point is 373 Kelvin, whereas the interval is same as degree centigrade, which is made into 100 equal parts. So these are the different scales of temperature. So in all these scales of temperature, you have two fixed point, lower fixed point and the upper fixed point, and interval. And all these scales of temperature, or in any scale of temperature, so one should be constant. That is nothing but, in all these scales of temperature, reading minus lower fixed point divided by upper fixed point minus lower fixed point is constant. So in all these scales of temperature, reading minus lower fixed point divided by upper fixed point and lower fixed point remains constant. So we can make a general formula about all these scales of temperature. So for example, in the case of centigrade scale of temperature, the reading is taken as C, so lower fixed point is 0, whereas the upper fixed point is 100 degrees centigrade. So upper fixed point minus lower fixed point is nothing but 100 minus 0. So for centigrade scale of temperature, this becomes equal to C minus 0 by 100 minus 0. Whereas for Fahrenheit scale of temperature, this becomes equal to F minus the lower fixed point is 32, whereas upper fixed point is 212 minus 32. And coming to the Raman scale of temperature, this is nothing but R minus 0 divided by 80 minus 0. And for Kelvin scale of temperature, this becomes K minus 273 by 373 minus 273. And by simplification, this can be written as C by 100. This must be equal to F minus 32 by 180, which is equal to R by 80 is equal to K minus 273 divided by 100. So by using this relation, we can convert temperature in 1 degree scale of temperature to other scale of temperature. So C by 100 is equal to F minus 32 by 180 is equal to R by 80, that is equal to K minus 273 by 100. So by using this relation, we can convert the temperature in 1 degree centigrade scale to other degree centigrade. For example, if you want to convert a temperature in degree centigrade to temperature in Fahrenheit scale, this becomes equal to C by 100 is equal to F minus 32 by 180. So by using these two relations, we can convert temperature in degree centigrade into Fahrenheit. And if you want to convert temperature degree centigrade to Kelvin, then I have to take C by 100 is equal to K minus 273 by 100. So like that, by using this relation, we can convert temperature in 1 degree centigrade to other degrees centigrade. Now let us see what are different types of thermometer. And first of all, let us see what is meant by thermometer. So thermometer is a device which is to measure the temperature. So temperature is measured using the thermometer, and there are different types of thermometer. So the first one is mercury thermometer. Second one is alcohol thermometers. Third one is gas thermometer. Fourth one is platinum resistance thermometer. Next one is radiation pyrometer. And the last one is vapor pressure thermometer. So these are the different types of thermometer. Let us recap once again. Mercury thermometers, alcohol thermometers, gas thermometer, platinum resistance thermometer, radiation pyrometer thermometers, and the last one is vapor pressure thermometers. And in all these thermometers, the liquid or gas that is taken is different. So in the case of mercury thermometer, the liquid taken is mercury, whereas in the case of alcohol thermometer, the liquid taken is alcohol. And this is a gas thermometer, and in gas thermometer there are two types of thermometers. At pressure, constant pressure, the volume gas thermometer, or at constant volume, pressure gas thermometers. And the next one is platinum resistance thermometer, and there is a change in the resistance, and radiation pyrometer and vapor pressure thermometers. And in all these thermometers, the principle is same. So it is nothing but whenever we change the temperature, there is a change in the particular parameter. For example, if you take the mercury thermometers, so whenever there is increase in temperature, there is expansion of mercury. So in all these thermometers, if we increase or change the temperature, then the expansion of that particular parameter, that is the principle of the thermometer. For example, if you take the mercury thermometer, so in the case of mercury thermometer, if we change the temperature, then there is an expansion of the mercury. And in the case of platinum resistance thermometer, if you change the temperature, then there is a change in the resistance of the body. So like that, if we change the temperature, then there is a expansion of that particular parameter. So that is the principle of the thermometer. And in all these thermometers, we can make a general formula, so which is nothing but, which is given by T is equal to xt minus x0 by x100 minus x0 into 100. So by using this general relation, we can make over the formulas in all these kinds of thermometers. T is equal to xt minus x0 by x100 minus x0 into 100, where xt is that particular parameter temperature T degrees centigrade, and x0 is that particular parameter 0 degrees centigrade, whereas x100 is that particular parameter at 100 degrees centigrade. For example, if you consider the gas thermometer, and we already know there are two types of thermometer, keeping the pressure as constant. If we increase the temperature, there is a change in the volume. And if we keep the volume as constant and if we change the temperature, there is increase in the pressure. So then that the formula can be written as T is equal to Pt minus P0 by P100 minus P0 into 100. This is at constant volume. T is given by Pt minus P0 by P100 minus P0 into 100 at constant volume. So here in this formula, Pt is nothing but pressure at temperature T degrees centigrade, P0 is the pressure at a temperature of 0 degrees centigrade, and P100 is the pressure at a temperature of 100 degrees centigrade. And if we keep the pressure as constant, then the temperature is given by T is equal to Vt minus V0 by V100 minus V0 into 100. This is at constant pressure. And here also Vt is the volume at temperature T degree centigrade, and V0 is the volume at 0 degree centigrade, and V100 is the volume at 100 degree centigrade. So this is at constant pressure. And if you take the Platinum resistance thermometer, then the formula becomes equal to T is equal to RT minus R0 by R100 minus R0 200. So here if we change the temperature, there is a change in the resistance. So R0 is the resistance at 0 degree centigrade, RT is the resistance at T degree centigrade, and R100 is the resistance 100 degree centigrade. So like that we can frame the formulas by using this general relation, which is given by T is equal to xt minus x0 by x100 minus x0 into 100. So by using this general relation, we can make over the formulas in all these kinds of thermometers. Now let us see the concepts of expansion solids. So we know whenever a solid is heated, the amplitude of vibration of the particles increases. Thereby there is a overall change in the shape of the body. The change may be in length, area or volume. And if there is change in length, this is called as linear expansion. If there is change in area, it is called as areal expansion. And if there is change in volume, it is called as volume expansion. So whenever a solid is heated, the amplitude of vibration of particles increases. Thereby there is a overall change in the shape of the body. That change may be in length, area or volume. And if there is change in length, it is called as linear expansion. If there is change in area, it is called as areal expansion. And if there is change in volume of the body, that is called as the volume expansion. And to measure these three expansions, we have three coefficients of expansion. The first one is the alpha L. Is nothing but coefficient of linear expansion. The second one is the coefficient of areal expansion, alpha A. Means to measure the volume expansion, we have alpha V, which is nothing but the coefficient of volume expansion. So we have altogether three coefficients of expansion, alpha L, alpha A and alpha V. So alpha L is nothing but coefficient of linear expansion, alpha A is the coefficient of areal expansion, and alpha V is the coefficient of volume expansion. So now let us see these three expansions. First let us see coefficient of linear expansion. So the coefficient of linear expansion is denoted by letter alpha L, so which is given by the formula is alpha L is equal to L2 minus L1 by L1 into T2 minus T1, which can be taken as delta T. So it is defined as the ratio of change in length to its version length per unit rise of temperature. That is the definition of alpha L. So the formula is given as alpha L is equal to L2 minus L1 by L1 into delta T. And from this you can find the value of change in length, which is nothing but L2 minus L1 is equal to alpha L into L1 into delta T, or this can be written as delta L is equal to alpha L into L1 into delta T. So this is the expression for the change in length. Now you can find the final length also. So L2 becomes equal to L1 plus alpha L into L1 into delta T. By taking L1 as common, we get 1 plus alpha L into delta T. So this is the expression for final length. So to find the final length, you can use this formula. L2 is equal to L1 into 1 plus alpha into delta T. And the temperature can be found by using the relation delta T is equal to delta L by alpha L into L1. So by using this relation, you can find the change in temperature, or from this you can also find the final temperature. And by bringing L1 to this side, then you get the fraction change in length, which is given by L2 minus L1 is equal to alpha L into delta T. So this is the expression for fraction change in length, and by multiplying with 100 on both sides, we get L2 minus L1 by L1 into 100 is equal to alpha L into delta T into 100. This is called as the percentage increase in length. So percentage increase in length is equal to alpha L into delta T into 100. So here in this expression, the percentage increase in length may be asked by giving alpha L and change in temperature, or by giving increase in length, percentage increase in length, we may ask to find the coefficient of linear expansion and delta T is given. So anyway, to find the percentage increase in length or percentage change in length, the expression is percentage increase in length is equal to alpha L into delta T into 100. So this is about the coefficient of linear expansion, and we know the unit for alpha L is nothing but per degree centigrade or per degree Kelvin, whereas the dimension formula is m power 0, L power 0, T power 0 and K power minus 1. So this is about the coefficient of linear expansion. Now let us see the second coefficient, that is coefficient of areal expansion. Second, the coefficient of areal expansion. So this is denoted by alpha A, which is given by the equation alpha A is equal to A2 minus A1 by A1 into T2 minus T1, which can be taken as delta T. So alpha A is equal to A2 minus A1 by A1 into delta T, and it is defined as the ratio of change in area to its original area per unit rise of temperature. And from this we can find the change in area as A2 minus A1 is equal to alpha A into A1 into delta T. So this is the formula to find the change in area. And the expression for the final area is nothing but A2 is equal to A1 plus alpha A1 into delta T. By taking A1 as common, we get 1 plus alpha A into delta T. So this is the expression for final area. And we can get the equation for the change in temperature as delta T is equal to A2 minus A1 by alpha A into A1. And this is the expression for the change in temperature. And find this, you can find the final temperature also, because delta 2 is nothing but T2 minus T1. By bringing T1 to that side, you can find the expression for final temperature T2. And from this relation, we get A2 minus A1 by A1 is equal to alpha A into delta T. So this is the formula for fractional change in length, and from this the definition is given as, so alpha A can also be defined as the fractional change in length per unit rise of temperature. And if we multiply it with 100 on both sides, we get A2 minus A1 by A1 into 100 is equal to alpha A into delta T into 100. So this is called as the percentage change in area or percentage increase in area. So percentage increase in area is equal to alpha A into delta T into 100. So from this equation you can find the percentage increase in area. And we know the relation between alpha A and alpha L as alpha A is equal to 2 alpha L. So this can be written as 2 alpha L into delta T into 100 if alpha L is given. And the units and dimension formula are same, which is nothing but per degree centigrade or per degree Kelvin, whereas the dimension formula is same as alpha L, which is nothing but m power 0, L power 0, T power 0 and K power minus 1. So this is about alpha A, that is coefficient of aerial expansion. The third one is coefficient of volume expansion. So this is the third coefficient, which is nothing but coefficient of volume expansion, and this is denoted by alpha V, which is given by alpha V is equal to V2 minus V1 by V1 into delta T. So it is defined as the ratio of change in volume to its volume, to its present volume per unit rise of temperature. It is defined as the ratio of change in volume to its present volume per unit rise of temperature. So from this you can find the expression for the change in volume as V2 minus V1 is equal to alpha V into V1 into delta T. So this is the expression to find the change in volume. And if you want to find the final volume, which is we will get as V2 is equal to V1 into 1 plus alpha V into delta T. So this is the expression to find the final volume. And the fraction change in volume is nothing but V2 minus V1 by V1 is equal to alpha V into delta T. And the percentage increase in volume is V2 minus V1 by V1 into 100 is equal to alpha V into delta T into 100. So this is called as the percentage increase in volume, which is nothing but we know alpha V can be given as 3 alpha L. So alpha L into delta T into 100, because alpha V is equal to 3 alpha L. So this is the expression to find the percentage increase in volume. And from this also we can define coefficient of volume expansion as it is defined as a fractional change in volume per unit rise of temperature. So the units are same once again as alpha L and alpha A, which is nothing but per degree centigrade or per degree Kelvin, whereas the dimension formula is also same, which is m power 0, L power 0 and T power 0, K power minus 1. Now let us see the relation between the three coefficients of expansion. So that is the relation between alpha L, alpha A and alpha B. So alpha A is given as 2 alpha L. So the coefficient of aerial expansion is twice the coefficient of linear expansion. The alpha V is given as 3 alpha L, that is the coefficient of volume expansion is 3 times the coefficient of linear expansion. And if you find the ratio between the three coefficient of expansion, alpha L is to alpha A is to alpha V is equal to alpha L is to 2 alpha L is to 3 alpha L, which is nothing but 1 is to 2 is to 3. So this is the relation between the ratio between the three coefficient of volume expansion. And we know alpha V is nothing but 3 alpha L. So this can be written as alpha L plus 2 alpha L, and instead of 2 alpha L you can write the alpha A. So this is nothing but alpha L plus alpha A. So alpha V is given as the sum of the coefficient of linear expansion as well as the coefficient of aerial expansion. So the coefficient of volume expansion is nothing but sum of the coefficient of linear expansion and coefficient of aerial expansion. So this is the relation between the three, and we know, so this is the relation between alpha L and alpha A, and this is the relation between alpha L and alpha V, and we can find the relation between alpha V and alpha A also. So from this relation, alpha V is equal to alpha L plus alpha A, and we know alpha A is equal to 2 alpha L. So from this alpha L given as 1 by 2 alpha A. So alpha V is equal to 1 by 2 alpha A plus alpha A. By taking alpha A common, we get 1 plus 1 by 2, which is nothing but 3 by 2. So alpha V is equal to 3 by 2 alpha A. So this is the relation between alpha A and alpha V, or in other words, alpha A is equal to 2 by 3 alpha V. So this is the relation between alpha V and alpha A, and here the alpha L or alpha A or alpha V does not depend on unit of length, it only depends on scale of temperature, and the relation is given as alpha F is equal to 5 by 9 alpha C. So this is the relation between alpha in Fahrenheit to the alpha in degree centigrade. So if the alpha in degree centigrade is given, you can find the alpha value in Fahrenheit. So which is given by alpha F is equal to 5 by 9 alpha C, or alpha C is equal to 9 by 5 alpha F. So this is the relation between alpha in Fahrenheit and alpha in degree centigrade. So just now we see the relation between alpha L, alpha N, alpha V, given as alpha L is to alpha A is to alpha V is equal to 1 is to 2 is to 3. So the percentage change in area is nothing but 2 into percentage change in length. And the percentage increase or change in volume is nothing but 3 into percentage change in length. And if the value alpha value in 3 direction is given as alpha x, alpha y and alpha z. So this is the alpha value in x direction or x axis, and this is alpha y in y direction or y axis, and this is alpha value in z direction. So if the alpha value in 3 directions are given, then alpha can be found by using alpha is equal to alpha x plus alpha y plus alpha z by 3, and by bringing 3 we get 3 alpha is equal to alpha x plus alpha y plus alpha z, which is nothing but alpha v is equal to alpha x plus alpha y plus alpha z. So here alpha is the v is the coefficient of volume expansion, and here alpha is nothing but coefficient of linear expansion. So here alpha x and alpha y and alpha z are the alpha value in 3 directions. Then we get the alpha value. And the condition for the length remains constant at all temperature is, the condition for length remains constant at all temperature is L1 alpha 1 is equal to L2 alpha 2. Or in other words, the length is inversely proportional to the alpha value. So this is the condition that the length remains constant at all temperature. And if the difference in length is given as x, and if we want to find the alpha value, the difference in length is given as x, and we find the length of the first rod or length of the second rod, which is given by L1 is equal to x into alpha of the second material divided by difference in alpha values, and the L2 is given as x into alpha 1 divided by alpha 1 difference alpha 2. So by using this relation, you can find the length of the first rod as well as the length of the second rod. Here x is nothing but difference in length, whereas alpha 1 is the coefficient of linear expansion of the first rod, whereas alpha 2 is the coefficient of linear expansion of the second rod. So by using these relations, you can find the length of the first rod as well as the length of the second rod. Now let us see the pendulum clock. So the time period of the pendulum is given by t is equal to 2.2 of L by z, where L is the length of the pendulum and z is the acceleration due to gravity. So T is nothing but time period. And we know in summer, as the temperature increases, the length of the pendulum increases, thereby the time period also increases. But the frequency of oscillation, which is given by n is equal to 1 by time period, which is decreases. Hence, it loses time or goes to slow. So in summer, it loses time or goes slow. Whereas in winter, it gains the time period or goes fast. So as we know, in winter the temperature decreases, thereby length of the pendulum decreases, the time period also decreases, but the frequency of oscillation increases, and it gains time period or it goes fast. And we can find the loss or gain of time period per day. So it is given by, so T2 by T1 is nothing but root of L2 by L1, because here G is a constant. So we know L2 is nothing but L1 into 1 plus alpha L into delta T or T. So then we get L1 into 1 plus alpha L into T, which is also change in temperature, divided by L1. So L1 get cancelled. So from this we get this as 1 plus alpha L into T into power 1 by 2. This is T2 minus T1. And by subtracting 1 on both sides, we get T2 minus T1 by T1 is equal to 1 plus 1 by 2 alpha L into T minus 1. So 1 get cancelled. So you get that T2 minus T1 is equal to T1 into half alpha L into T. So this is the expression for loss or gain of time period. So T2 minus T1 is nothing but T1 into half alpha L into T. And per day, the loss or gain of time period becomes so per day we know it is 24 hours. By converting 24 into seconds, we get 24 into 60 into 60. Then we get this as 43200 alpha L into T seconds. So this is expression for the loss or gain of time period per day. The clock loses T1 seconds at a temperature of T1 degrees centigrade, and it gains the time period of T2 seconds at a temperature of T2 degrees centigrade. Now, if pendulum gives the correct time at T degrees centigrade, then the temperature is given as T is equal to T1 T2 plus T2 T1 by T1 plus T2. Coefficient of linear expansion is given as alpha L is equal to T1 plus T2 divided by 43200 into T2 minus T1. So this is expression for the temperature, which is given by T is equal to T1 T2 plus T2 T1 by T1 plus T2, and alpha is given as T1 plus T2 by 43200 T2 minus T1. So here the loss of time period is T1 seconds at a temperature of T1 degree centigrade, and it gains a time period of T2 seconds at a temperature of T2 degree centigrade. Now let us see bimetallic strip. So we already know the bimetallic strip, so which is made up of two different metals and they are connected together at several points, is known as bimetallic strip. So it consists of two different metals riveted together at several points, is known as bimetallic strip. So whenever this bimetallic strip is heated, it gets covered with more alpha value on convex side because expansion is more. Whenever it is cooled, it gets covered with more alpha value on concave side. And here the radius of the curvature of the bimetallic strip is given by R is equal to D by alpha L1 difference alpha L2 into delta T. So this is expression to find the radius of the curvature. And now let's see thermal stress. When the rod is fixed between two rigid supports and when it is heated, then stress is developed in the rod. The stress is called as the thermal stress. And we know the Young's modulus is denoted by Y, which is given by Y is equal to longitudinal stress by longitudinal strain. And the stress is nothing but the force acting per unit area, whereas the strain is given as the change in length by original length. And we already know the delta L is given as alpha L into delta T, where L is the original length. Then we get the strain as alpha L into delta T divided by L. So we get the strain which is equal to alpha L into delta T. So this is expression to find the strain alpha L into delta T. Now by applying in this equation we get Y is equal to stress divided by strain is nothing but alpha L into delta T. So you get the thermal stress. So this is called as thermal stress. So which is nothing but Y alpha L into delta T. So this is expression to find the thermal stress, which is nothing but Y alpha L into delta T. So here alpha L is the coefficient of linear expansion, Y is the Young's modulus of the material, and delta T is the change in temperature. And we know stress is given as by force by area. Then we get the formula for force as Ya alpha L into delta T. So this is the formula to find the force acting on the one. So the strain can be found by using strain is equal to alpha L into delta T, and the stress can be found by using Y alpha L into delta T, whereas the force is found by using F is equal to Ya alpha L into delta T. And the variation of density with the temperature is given as alpha V is equal to D1 minus D2 by D2 into delta T. This is the variation of density with the temperature. So alpha V is equal to D1 minus D2 by D2 into delta T. From this we get D1 minus D2 is equal to alpha V into D2 into delta T. D1 is given as D1 is equal to D2 into 1 plus alpha V into delta T. So here the density is decreases with increase of temperature. So D1 is more than D2. So this is the variation of density with temperature.